Pray, my friend, pray. This is the regular board meeting of March 21st, 2024. It is now 4:06. We will begin roll call.
President Cortese is on her way. Vice President Doe,
Present.
Clerk Lay. Here. Member Chavez. Here. Member Herrera.
Here. Welcome to the regular board meeting of March 21st, 2024. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time?
We have no in-person, nor do we have any online public comment.
Hearing none, seeing none. The board will now recess to closed sessions.
So we will now resume open session and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, 4.01. Welcome to the regular board meeting of March 21, 2024. Members of the public, please submit your public comment as follows. In-person public comment may be made in person in the boardroom by filling out a speaker request form located at the entrance of the meeting room. If you're on Zoom, you may raise your virtual hand to request to speak and offer a comment in real time. You will have 2 minutes to speak. You may also submit comments electronically online before or during the meeting with a 1,000 character limit by accessing the agenda link to the form on the district's homepage. Please reference the agenda item number in your written comment. Please note, regular and special board meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamed live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at ESUHSD.org under the quick links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and/or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda at the district's website. Okay, moving on to 5.01. Is there anything that we need to being requested to be removed from the agenda?
Administration is requesting that item 1303 be moved to the subsequent meeting.
1303. Okay, thank you. 6.01, recognizing San Jose State University Spartan East Side Promise. Superintendent.
All right, you see the photo there on the wall? That was Monday night. And that was a beautiful thing. On Monday night, we had over 400 people at San Jose State in the Great Hall, and it was packed. And subsequently, it was warm. And subsequently, everything that goes with warmth and humanity in one place was all, we were all there present with each other. And I got to tell you, it was a beautiful thing. There was a great energy in the building. These were students that applied because they had had a 2.5 GPA, met the A through G requirements as seniors, and applied before November 30. The promise that's open to all our students. These students have taken advantage of and are now there to figure out what's the process of saying, I'm here to commit. Sammy the Spartan was there, but more importantly, the president was there and just basically said what we wanted to hear. We want you here, and we want those that are still in East Side schools here in the future. Just do high school right, and we are here to continue your path for full participation in Silicon Valley. And I'm going to ask our good friend to come forward. I don't know if you work for San Jose State anymore or East Side, but it feels like you're one of us. I'll tell you that. And I ask her to come forward, Ms. Adama. But I got to say, the parents thrilled, the students ready, and the ask at that event was like, "Hey, right now, be selfish, finish the year strong, commit, do the summer program that I think starts on June 3rd and goes through June 6th." So San Jose State isn't just saying, "We'll admit you, we'll welcome you on March 18." And show you how to commit, and then we'll be back all together on June 3rd to June 6th, so that you know how to start the year right. And with the call of, we want more of you here. It is a fantastic thing. I can't thank San Jose State enough for saying to our students, we want you here. I don't know if you all know this, but number one employee, or the Apple number one university of their employees, San Jose State. Number one provider of Silicon Valley employees, San Jose State. It's a university on the rise, but it's not just on the rise. It is currently driving this valley. And that's what we've always said our students to do, not to drive to the valley, but to drive this valley. So thank you for hosting. Thank you for making sure that our students get there, succeed. And like we challenged our students next year, be selfish now, get in, do well. But next year, we're going to be asking you to nominate or to name 2 students that we can then contact, current juniors, to say, this current Spartan thought of you that you should apply for the Spartan Eastside Promise. Please think of that. Selma, welcome. If you could introduce yourself to the board and let us know the good things that are happening at San Jose State.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Superintendent Vanderzee and the board, for having me here tonight. My name is Amanda Fernandez, and I am the Spartan Eastside Promise Program Lead at San Jose State University. I've been with the program since its inception in 2016. This program is near and dear to my heart, not only as a Spartan, but also as an Eastside graduate myself. So to be able to have that opportunity to support the Eastside Union High School District community, from college exploration to supporting students and their families to be connected to resources to support their college graduation, is incredibly meaningful. Our team at SJSU is incredibly excited to continue doing this work. As for our latest application cycle, as of date today, we have had 1,839 applications for fall 2024, with 95.4% of students being offered admission either to their intended major or to undeclared through the Spartan Eastside Promise. The way that this portion works is if students did not meet the requirements or the impaction criteria for their intended major, the Spartan Eastside Promise sees that they meet their A through Gs with a C- or better, have at least a 2.75 GPA, which is really a 2.5, as we provide a local boost to students in our local preference area, and apply by the deadline. Rather than denying their application, they're guaranteed admission to undeclared to be able to have those opportunities to come to SJSU, connect with advisors, and transition to a major at a later time. As mentioned, Monday night was our Spartan Eastside Promise Becoming a Spartan reception, where we welcomed approximately 400 newly admitted students and their families to their community with an opportunity to engage with financial aid, the Career Center, academic advising, just to name a few of our amazing campus and community resources as well. We are incredibly excited again to continue this partnership, and thank you so much.
And thank you. And in our gratitude to San Jose State and the Spartan Eastside Promise Program, we want to offer this to you and thank you for supporting our students of the Eastside Union High School District in continuing their path to full participation in Silicon Valley. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have comments to make, but after you do, let's come on up and make sure that we capture this.
Absolutely. Colleagues, does anyone have anything? I mean, this is just an extraordinary opportunity for our students. This is a game changer, as you know, as a one of us, and now over there, you see the trajectory and the path that you're providing, and we're just really grateful and really in awe that this came about. So thank you. Does the student representative have is there anything you want to share?
I can say something as a student myself, getting to watch all the like my peers as well, take this opportunity is really great, and thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Should we take a picture?
Of course we should. Come on down. This is a good thing. You know, as someone with the college degree, it's hard for me to look at students and say, something I have, you don't need. We understand all of our students might choose college as an opportunity or in the future, but we'll work for that preparation. And we thank San Jose State for making it as seamless and easy as possible for our students to move from the high school study to the university. Thanks so much. Come on in.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Moving on to 701, let's hear from our Student Governing Board Representative, Emily Chu.
Hello. At our Monday, March 18th board meeting, we went over our committee updates. We just released a post with information on dual enrollment that students can easily access from our Instagram at ESUHSD.SGB. Our board has also begun collaborating with clubs like Key Club at Piedmont Hills and Independence High School. SGB elections for representatives will be happening in April alongside ASB for each respective school site, and we will be electing our new chair for the 2024 to 25 school term at our next meeting. Thank you.
And would you like to introduce your colleagues?
Yeah, who are those people next to you?
Okay, so next to me, I have the potential chair and vice chair candidates for next year's term.
My name is Katie. I stepped in one meeting and I'm looking to run for chair for SGB next year.
My name is Jocelyn. I go to Evergreen Valley High School and I am potentially running to be the vice chair for next year's SGB.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
part of that process, they made the decision to shadow Emily, and if they were to assume this position, what that would be like, what it looks like to look out from the dais, and just kind of how this all works.
Well, welcome. Okay, moving on to 8.01, is there anything, Superintendent, that we want to hear out of?
Not from administration, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nothing under 9. We're moving on to 10, public comment. I don't have anything here. Is there anything online?
We have no online public comment nor in person.
Any comment on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 11:01. This is the superintendent's report and update. So Superintendent, I'll turn over to you.
As we do in every meeting, want to give a safety and positive school climate update. As we noticed, this emanated from the work of the task force in which they talked about issues such as school safety personnel and supervision, both in who does that, what is available to us, and then how are they trained. I know we met with some individuals earlier this week about when we might train again in de-escalation strategies, or when we might be training in just how to deal with physical altercations and what that might look like if that happens or not. We will time those trainings after we get input from all the sites and safety teams there to make sure that they have a voice in what they feel is necessary, and work with our student services division to make sure that we craft something that's responsive to individual sites, mindful of individual sites, but also as part of the comprehensive plan that we as a district want to make sure happens. As part of that, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that we've also been in communication with the San Jose Police Department, as currently staffing does, the conversation about officers on campus, their current staffing level doesn't even allow for that right now, unless for us to do better coordination of when we call 911 or needed assistance for us to better coordinate for that to arrive in a timely fashion. The other thing is to engage in proactive and preventative approaches. And I'm hoping that over the, 42 LCAT meetings are we hosting this year, which is an amazing number. It gives a lot of people the opportunity to weigh in on some of those blessings, whether that has to do with the possibility of an in-school suspension or the presence of a behavioral social worker at some sites or not, if that has to deal, with ninth grade transition or other aspects that a school might want to engage with specifically because they know there's a population on their campus that just needs a different response to remain positive on that campus and respond safely. The other thing that we're going to continue to keep our eye on, both in data and training, is just consistent responses to behaviors, and where there is confusion on what's the policy and how we can do that, that we continue to engage at multiple levels with administration, with student groups, with our bargaining units when they feel that there's inconsistency or not an application, that we continue to work about when and how to apply our behavioral responses, and also just to improve our engagement with students. Every adult on campus is an opportunity for engagement with our students, to make sure that they feel welcomed and to understand how they're normed and what their responsibilities are on campus. And so we're going to continue to look about how do we do that? How do we engage in terms of outside the classroom? How do we engage how do we institute instructional practices and ways of being in classrooms for greater engagement? And we'll keep our eye on that. Our ongoing next steps, we're continuing just as a district, just know, and this is something that takes time just in terms of moving through the Department of State Architect. Another thing is to continue to look of how we identify a single point of access at our campuses, or if there's going to be multiple points of entry and egress, how those are supervised. We'll continue to work. James Lake is kind of our first project. And so we're looking to establish a fencing for to try to get that for the start of for the first day of school. If not possible, then to make sure, because of the Department of State Architect, that we're able to install temporary fencing where necessary, and where the permanent is possible to get in place, we'll continue on that project in a way that communicates, again, just in terms of how we fence, that we're looking from safety from our perimeter, right? Not the safety from those inside, right? That's how we establish positive school climate. That's how we respond appropriately, and in a way that still continues to look welcoming and allow access to our families to schools. We'll continue to engage with security entities and training and possible supports, as well as to develop the employee supervision training. I talked about that a little bit about it, and we'll develop that training in response to our site safety team's input, along with the work that we've done previously in de-escalation strategies. I know there's some questions out there. Well, when do I intervene, right? And the bad answer is it depends, right? But it's also the right answer. It depends, and it depends on the situation. It depends on your training, and it depends on whether that really de-escalate or not. So we'll continue to work with that. We mentioned the local accountability plan. That's really sites time to say that we think we can do something novel from an instructional or social emotional perspective. Also, in terms of substance abuse and addiction, if there's something that they think at that site that can positively move their students, we're going to do that. We'll continue to keep our eye on the clear and consistent consequences for disruptive behaviors. The other thing that we're looking for, and it'll come later tonight, I just want to you know, it's coming later, is that we are looking to enter into a contract with West Ed, that they do a comprehensive safety audit of all of our sites. And when I say all of our sites, I include the district office, not just on the items that the task force has lifted up in terms of supervision, engagement, consequences, training, and also instructional and connectivity, but also just in terms of kind of technical and mechanical, such as where our security cameras are, where there are points of entry, signage, where to park for large scale events, how are we proposed for earthquakes or fire, or having to respond in those ways, so that we receive objective and independent and also exceptionally experienced technical support in making sure that our response is comprehensive. I say that saying that, yes, this contract is almost a year in length. That does not mean we're going to stop those things we're talking about, the fencing, looking at consequences for and responses to behaviors, and the trainings, and also with what I put here is connect deeply now with our site safety plans to identify what is going on our campus, where and when does that happen, and how do we want to utilize trained personnel and respond to mitigate that. Not just to go out and wait, not to assume we have to blanket everything, but to get very specific and strategic in how we respond. And then once again, we'll be looking to identify and implement training for staff and de-escalation for verbal and physical disturbances and how to approach that. I think I'll be receiving a question later in terms of the timing for the site safety team, so I'll wait on that just in case there's a nuance from what I've said that's missing. But that's where we're going, and later tonight we'll bring that contract with a recommendation for approval.
Just a quick question. So the contract does include the, in addition to the sort of logistical safety aspects, it also includes things like discipline consequences, those interventions. stuff
Thank you
like
for
that.
asking. So there's a whole menu from which the entity could choose to audit, right? They could look at safety from just a facilities perspective alone. So our task force, if it is approved, our task force will reconvene probably in April to meet with the auditors to help give input into what aspects of a potential audit are most important to them, as well as they'll meet with the district administration to say, okay, what are some aspects that the task force didn't look up that we might be interested in, such as signage and accessibility to different systems, or even IT concerns that they might raise up under the banner of safety.
Thank you. Colleagues, any comments? Okay,
Question.
go ahead.
I want to be sure I understood correctly. I thought I heard you say that concerns or comments regarding training for de-escalating and disciplinary practices and all of that. I thought I heard you say that the LCAP hearings that are being scheduled are a venue for receiving feedback. Is that what you said?
Let me differentiate two things. For the LCAP hearing, people can make any type of suggestion that they want as part of the process. However, really at those LCAP hearings, I think with its instructional and social emotional and well-being kind of focus as the LCAP plan, that we're looking more to how could we engage 8th graders becoming 9th graders? How do we engage with substance control or addicted youth? How do we respond to greater engagement for students that are finding it difficult to engage? When we meet with our site safety teams, they provide their site safety plan, but one of the asks for the end of this year is for them to do a little bit more of a study of what is happening on their campus, when and where does that happen, and so what type of allocation of staffing, or how do they want to allocate staff, and then second, what type of training might they need for them to be able to bring that, so that we can then create a comprehensive approach to training through student services.
I wish I had recorded what you just said in response to my question, because it seems to me we might be more effective in the notices that we sent out soliciting feedback or input we might be more effective if it wasn't just so generic and the actual proposed LCAP wasn't so technical and legalistic. But if we had an advisory along with the invitation for participating in a hearing that suggested these kinds of issues that people can offer comments on, it would probably catch the notice more of people who would say, I do have an interest in X or Y or Z that you're suggesting as areas of community input. And I think I will show up, as opposed to, working through a lot of incoming messages and seeing a generic, hearing invitation.
Yeah, I hear that. My answer is, my response to that would be, as a district, we have parent participation at a level that's not even close to other districts around us. Our participation, the offerings and the number of participants is truly a credit to the progress we have. I hear the word generic and I go, no, it's comprehensive in its form. It's intended to be much more than what we've just delineated, but I know in those presentations, it is made specific. There are opportunities for specific invitation. I hear that. When I see the invitations that go out, I do see that it is targeted for people to be able to bring their concerns and be able to bring their ideas and want to make that comprehensive. In terms of the training for the school site safety teams, which is different, that's an internal thing. I believe that our LCAP processes are eliciting a good number of and quality input, just at its own level. But when I look and listen to other districts in terms of what goes out and the quality of input that they're getting, I'll take our process any day.
Okay, someone forwarded an email to me of a notice that they'd received regarding an LCAP hearing or schedule of hearings. And that's why I used the word generic, because it's basically a global open-ended invitation, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will brush that off. But if you were to call to their attention the kinds of issues that are in fact, generating comment, it might draw more participation. But I'll accept your answer that we know we have a healthy process going on already.
We have a healthy process, and we also have task force and other venues in which people can express that, as well as safety teams and school site councils. And what I'll just stand by the LCAP process in terms of making sure it's not so specific that it keeps people away. And I know that there are multiple invitations that delineate what will be discussed, and I'll stand with that for sure.
Thank you.
I appreciate your response. I'd love to have your response on your presentations in one of our weekly update that you send to us, so that I have a chance to review and we can have further discussions back and forth on how we can make ongoing progress, and so that the public will have a chance to make comment or response. I think I have forwarded a number of email to you, email from the public as well as our staff regarding this ongoing issues, and that they feel that particularly the safeties and the student behaviors issue that they would like to engage sooner rather than later.
Okay. Nope. Okay, we do have one public speaker, so I call Thomas Brittendall.
Hello, thank you, everyone. Thomas Brittendall, teacher at Oak Grove High School, Vice President, Eastside Teachers Association. I want to start off first with a little pivot and compliment Board Member Herrera on a great idea. We have a budget advisory committee for the budget. It only makes sense to have an LCAP advisory committee on the same thing. Whether it's a healthy process or not can always be made healthier. So I very much second that opinion, and we'll talk more on that. But the main reason for standing up here is to, thank you, Superintendent Vanderzee, for the comments you made. Is it possible to put it up real quick? The board's heard the word site safety committees and site safety plans a lot over the last 5 minutes. And it's important because that's a model that the district is going to be going to. And there's going to be a lot of importance put on that group. What's going to be even more important than that is that the groups, the school sites, the site union leaders specifically, and the site administrators are going to be working on common understandings about the authority and scope of that tool and also the process. We've talked about that back and forth, and all I really have at this time is a question for the superintendent about the timing as to when those trainings are expected to take place.
Yeah, and most likely that would be probably mid to late April, and early May. With emphasis, probably our preference would be late April, not May.
That's excellent. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any online comments or comments on Zoom?
No online public comment.
Nothing via Zoom.
All right, thank you for the update. And other comments, we'll move on to 11.02, which is discussion and or action to adopt proposed 24-25 board meeting calendar. So Mary, can you give us an update on where we are with the calendar? Is everybody on board with the calendar?
All the responses that I've received, we've updated accordingly.
One of the changes you'll see from the last time it was presented was the removal of the second meeting in November. You'll also see that for availability, the December meeting as there's only availability in the week prior to the break. Sensitive to the timing of that, we're then suggesting that the board meeting be held the Tuesday, not the Thursday of that final week.
And then the March retreat was changed to went from the 15th to the 22nd, right? So just wanted to point out those changes for my colleagues before we vote, because I just want to remind everybody that when we have to change a board meeting, it's way more than the 6 of us who are impacted, 7 of us. So I just think it's important to do the work now to figure out when these dates work. And yeah, so very good. Then I just need a motion, I guess, right? Okay, motion by Lay, second by Chavez. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Emily? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Herrera. Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank
even though
you.
one of the dates lands on my birthday,
know.
I approved it.
We'll celebrate it with you, my friend.
Bring you a cake.
Well, we moved it from Trustee Chavez's birthday to your birthday, so.
How did you all land on our birthday?
How did you show up in December? I mean, that's what happened.
Right?
Okay.
Two people we could ask.
All right, let's move on to 12.01, which is presentation or discussion regarding the Office of Civil Rights Public Data Agreement. So Superintendent Teresa Marquez.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, trustees, superintendent, and community. Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent for Educational Services. So tonight I have a brief presentation to present to the board, and it's an informational item to provide you an update with one of the requirements as part of our agreement with the Office for Civil Rights. And so just to give you a little bit of background and some additional context for our community as well. Back in 2017, as a district, we entered into a resolution agreement with the Office for Civil Rights so that we can address and resolve compliance findings based on an investigation that they had conducted specific to our discipline data, practices, and policies. As part of the investigation, there were some key findings that were listed as part of their investigation into our discipline data. These are some of the more significant ones that were addressed, and they included, in particular, significant racial disparities for our Latino students when compared to our white students at every level of discipline, with expulsion being the exception. In particular, they looked at Latino students who were disproportionately disciplined at every level of disciplinary consequences, again, for all levels except expulsion. Additionally, they found that our Latino and African-American students were more likely to be referred for discipline for subjective offenses, in particular that whole ed code around willful defiance. And then finally, they did look at our behavior policies and did an analysis and a finding that there was not enough guidance within the policies to ensure that there was consistency in issuance in alignment with ed code. As a result of those findings and the district agreeing to enter into a resolution agreement with the Office for Civil Rights, these were some of the key agreements that were surfaced. Updating of board policies, which I've brought some board policies in the past, development of a uniform behavior matrix, partnering with expert consultants for support and professional development, creation of an equity advisory committee, training for staff, and the item that I'm going to present to you today, which is the public reporting of discipline data. Now, yes, it's an agreement. Yes, it's compliance, but really, my team is looking at it through the lens of how does it support our continued effort to build equitable communities. And to me in particular, it's looking at that first bullet, all students are welcomed as they are. And so how do our responses to student behavior continue to demonstrate that bullet so that then the other bullets can also be met? Additionally, because we have made a promise to our community of college and career readiness for all of our students, keeping students in class is important. And so when you look at some of the behavior responses, it's how do we maximize opportunities for students to change their behaviors while not losing instructional days so that they can actually meet our graduate profile and be able to achieve at high levels across the board. And then lastly, how is it that we continue to do this as a system where we're looking at policy, access, and practice? And I think the agreement that we entered into with the Office for Civil Rights allows us to actually be able to look at addressing those findings through the lens of a system and not just in pockets across our district. So what was the expectation in terms of the reporting of discipline data? And so this is the expectation as part of the agreement. The Office for Civil Rights expected us to ensure that as part of the discipline that we were going to report publicly to our community, it was disaggregated by race, by English proficiency status, by school, and by reasons leading to whatever exclusionary discipline practices were implemented. Additionally, they wanted us to ensure that we had data that looked at were there any alternatives to exclusion, what was our data around disciplinary referrals, suspension, any transfers based on discipline, any expulsions, and any referrals to law enforcement, citations, and arrest. And the expectation is that this data would be posted and published online on our district's website. So in addition to that requirement of the data, my team also looked at it through the lens of how do we orient our community who isn't familiar necessarily in the day-to-day looking at data to ensure that it was more meaningful and understanding of what that data is trying to portray. And so our team looked at what are some things that we could put in terms of narrative to give some guidance for folks who are not as familiar as we are, those of us who are in the education system, to allow them to be able to have a lens that would look at the data and have these considerations taken into account. And so one of them was that we wanted to make sure that our community understood that the district student discipline data is a reflection of the practices that we put in place and not necessarily a reflection on any student group. We did not want to continue the confirmation of any stereotypes that folks already exist just based on the data that we currently have. And so we do ask for folks to consider their own biases when viewing the data, to look at the demographic data first so that there's an understanding of population sizes and how that may get represented in the data. As well as looking at the fact that we do have some small student populations that cause fluctuations in the numbers if we discipline one student in a group that has maybe 5. students of that ethnic, in particular in our ethnic racial groups. And then just some technical advice to use their mouse to look at the percent and graphs, because we added as much narrative as we possibly could to allow for better understanding of the data. Additionally, we offer a glossary. We are working on a glossary so that when we say EL, EO, when we describe different groups, that there's a common understanding of what we mean by all those different labels. So what I have here is just some screenshots for you to see. This is not about the actual data. This is about just me sharing with you the fact that our discipline outcomes, our discipline data are going to be posted fairly soon on our website. And so wanted to make sure that you, as the Board of Trustees, were aware of what that was going to look like. And so here you have one of the screenshots. So you'll see the data in various formats. This is one that it's disaggregated by offense and race and ethnicity. You can see we still need some corrections on our spelling in some areas there. But this is going to allow us to toggle. If you look at the right top menus there, we're going to be able to report multiple years. We're going to be able to disaggregate it by school and then disaggregate it by specific student groups. And so this is just one format of how we'll be presenting the data. Another format is through pie charts. And again, you'll see there the menu that our community will be able to engage with to look at the data in various formats, including a narrative so that our community understands what specifically is that they're looking at. And then finally, our typical bar graphs where, again, our community will be able to engage by toggling from one year to the next, by specific groups, and then by school. Currently, we're going to start with 21-22 data, and then we're going to be adding 22-23, and then we'll progressively add the years as the year is completed and as we have data available.
Quick question, will there be any kind of caveat or indication of the COVID years of suspensions, or is that just going to
Yeah,
just
so
be presented as fact?
Yeah, the expectation is just that we're starting with 21-22, which was the first year back in person, and then continue moving forward from there. And so what we'll also be including for further context and for additional resources will be links to the following: our student discipline board policies, our discipline EdCo training that we've been doing consistently throughout the school year, our uniform behavior responses or our matrix, and then our LCAP, so that they could see just how we're responding to student groups and how we're responding to that positive school climate and the connections with instruction to behavior. And so we'll include some additional resources for our community to be able to engage and see beyond the data. In terms of next steps, where we are, we still have to reach agreement on the language contained within those narrative snippets that I shared with you with the Office for Civil Rights. There's still some technical areas that we have to work around, which is the navigation buttons within our website. Where does it make sense to put it? How accessible and visible do we want it to be on the front, and where's the best placement for accessibility? There's some cleanup of formatting within the data displays currently in our website. Some of the tables you can see are a little bit heavy, and so just cleaning up the format so that they're a little bit more legible and accessible within the format of the website, and then obviously to publish their data. Our goal is to have the data published by the end of April, and that's the expectation of the Office for Civil Rights. And so again, I leave you with, yes, this is a compliance issue. Yes, this is some technical aspects within it. But really, I think if we take the opportunity to look at it as a means for us to continue to review data and using it for how we can actually improve and get to our goal of building equitable communities. And I just want to say that I'm just the presenter. The people working on these data pieces have been Kirsten King, our Director of Assessment and Accountability, and her team, Luan No, who was our programmer. And those two team members have just done an extraordinary job, and I just can't thank them enough, and just appreciate publicly the work that they have done to get us to this point to where we're going to be able to publish our data by the end of April. So take any questions.
Thank you. Yes, acknowledgement to you and your team. Colleagues, any comments?
That was the first thing that went through my mind too. I mean, this speaks for itself. So we got a lot of work to do, continue to do. But thank you, right? Because it starts with acknowledging where we are and figuring out where we're working from to figure out where we need to go.
Thank you.
So we have no in-person public speakers. Any online public speakers on this item?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. And there's no action here, just a presentation and discussion. So we will move on to 1301, discussion and or action to approve the contract for professional services over 25,000.
For approval.
We have a motion by Herrera, a second by Doe, all in favor. Oh, Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Good, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 1302, discussion and or action to approve contract for professional services with West Ed. This is regarding the school safety and security audit that the superintendent was just talking about earlier. So unless there's any questions, I'm just looking for a motion. Yeah.
Oh, wait, but we have to make a motion. Sorry. Yes, sorry, move for approval. Sorry.
Okay, a motion by Chavez, second by Doe. Emily,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We are moving past 1303 to 1304, discussion and or action to delegate authority to superintendent or designee to award a contract for the federal E-rate program eligibility Category 1 products and services BEN number 1443354, forms 470 application number 240001107 for the upcoming fiscal year.
For approval.
Just, I wouldn't mind having
That
just 1 minute on that.
A summary.
So the E-rate is a federal program that provides significant dollars. And in this case, it's Category 1. It's for internet services, so it's like utilities. We have in the past had Category 2, but this is Category 1. It's a 60-40 split, 40% that the district would cover and E-rate covers for 60%. And so it's for
Covers-
internet.
who covers the other?
Services. I'm sorry,
Who covers, so district covers what?
40 and E-rate.
E-rate
Covers the 60.
Oh, okay.
And if you look into the fine print there, that's about a savings, about $2 million
Yes,
annually.
it's 2 million.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm sorry, was there a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Chavez, second by Herrera. Okay, Emily?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We like the sound of that. Okay, moving on to 1401, discussion and or action to approve a request for reduced workload program for 24-25 school year. Just, can you remind us what this is?
This is commonly known as the Willie Brown provision, where there are 3 renewals and one new request. Essentially, what it enables is that for employees who qualify for the program, enter into this reduced workload. However, they would get a 4 years of benefit to their CalSTRS payment.
Okay. So I heard a motion by Lay, second by Chavez. Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 1402, discussion and or action to approve variable term waiver request for certificated employees.
Second.
Okay, I definitely heard a motion by Doe. Oh, second by Lay. Okay, very good. Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's another unanimous. And now we're up to the consent calendar. I just need a motion. Okay, motion by Doe, second by Herrera. Emily, how do you vote?
We missed the 15.01.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yeah, okay. 1501, discussion and or action to approve the bond capital projects contracts over 50,000. Okay, moved by Doe, second by Herrera. Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor of 1501?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Now the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, motion by Doe, second by Lay. Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's the consent calendar passes unanimously. And now we are up to item 22, which is, wait, did we miss? Okay, written reports. So we're on 21. So we do have a written report, receive report on civic engagement and state seal of biliteracy. So that is a report available for anyone who wants to read up on that. And now we're at 22, which is future agenda items. And I actually have a speaker on item 22. So 22, it just says 22. So 22, Jack Hamner.
Good evening. My name's Jack Hamner. I'm president of Eastside Teachers Association. And I know it's a little weird to be on the future agenda items item on the agenda, but I think it's quite relevant. I do have an ask for all of you tonight to get something on the agenda for the future. And it kind of stems from a couple of things. It stems from looking at our financial outlook in our district for the next couple of years. It stems from negotiations and the offer that is out there for our employees as far as compensation and things like that. I think most of you know at this point that myself and a few of others do fairly well at researching the district's finances and things like that. And I've gotten to a point where I'm a little bit concerned about things that I've seen. We've known for, well, you know, the usual thing is the 3 years and we're having trouble. And this is the first time that I can ever think of where we've had two interim reports in a row where we have what we would call qualified passes. Okay. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but what I can agree with are some of the things that I hope that all of you are aware of. I know that these, you know, board meetings and the presentations, sometimes they happen so quick and things that there's things that you could miss, things that you might not see and things you might not understand. I don't know if you ever go to the finance parts of the board member conferences when you go to those, but if you haven't, I would recommend that you do because it's highly enlightening. Trust me. But what I have noticed in the last couple of years is this, is obviously we can see the actual numbers, so we don't ever base our stuff on projections, but our enrollment has declined. Okay, so we know that that's real. But if you were to look at the position control reports that you have been given several times in the last couple of years, you would see that our positions continue to increase. Okay, now it doesn't take someone very prevalent in math to be able to figure out that if your enrollment is declining, our attendance rates have dropped ever since COVID. It's steadily climbing back, I would say, but it's not what it was. Okay, which means with that declining enrollment and with our attendance not being as good as it used to be, that our funding is lower than it has been normally in the past. But then common sense would tell you when you have positions that we continue to increase, then we're continuing to be spending more money. Most notably was this year where we added our fourth administrators. It was 2 million, 2.5 million plus. I don't know if I would call that a good idea or not. That's an opinion, but I think that's part of the cause that we are having is we are overstaffed in areas and we're spending too much money given how much money we're bringing in. Okay. I really don't agree with the qualified pass, and that's no disrespect to Michelle. I know she works hard on that and, you know, she has a job to do as far as how she reports some of those things. But, you know, my concern is that we are not analyzing closely enough our staffing numbers and our financial numbers well enough to be able to figure these things out. We just had, correct me if I'm wrong, I would have to check with our human resources superintendent, Tom, but we just did the staffing numbers at the schools. I forget what the name of it is, but we already know at some of the schools that we're overstaffed. So that tells you our spending is probably a little bit too much. And so I think that we need to get a little more serious about how we're looking at what we're spending and what we're bringing in and those kind of things. So my ask is for, in some way, I don't know how this works, but like I said, it's a future agenda item, is to get that on there and start taking it maybe a little more seriously. Because, you know, we have teachers here and staff here that are struggling to get by, even if COLA, you know, is whatever it is, it's not relevant. I mean, it's about the funding that we have in our accounts, and it's about the cost of living here, and it's also about inflation that continues to skyrocket. And, you know, if we want to sustain, we have to find ways to be a little more fiscally solvent. So my hope is that somebody here will speak up and get that title of whatever you want to call that on your name for a future agenda item, because I think we need it. Thank you.
And Board
you.
President, if I could,
So-
do you want to respond?
Well, just I will say that we can't speak to the content, only the request, right? Because
Yeah,
of
I'm not
how
gonna-
this item's
We're not going to
agenda.
discuss the topic.
Right, thank you.
The comment I want to make is that item 2202 on our agendas specifically are for board members, because if we want to enroll our colleagues and the administration on something that we can agree to put on a future agenda, we can't discuss it among ourselves. We have to do that publicly. And so this item is only for board members to add things. But, and I'm actually in agreement with what you're seeking, Mr. Jack Hamner. But what I think we need to uphold is there is the process and protocol that we've used when members of the community or stakeholders want to see an item on the agenda, is to enroll the president and the superintendent, and if president and superintendent don't support it, make the request in public, but not under 22.02. That is not for public use to get agenda items on. And finally, my comment would be that having a common understanding of the particulars of district finances, I think is critical every year, and especially in years where there are financial challenges. You know, and so I would like to see a board study session on the budget. Several things that you said, Mr. Hamner, are both inaccurate and, in my hearing or understanding, out of context, but they ought to be responded to in a public conversation. So that's all I'll say for now.
Any other comments? Okay, any other future items? Nope, okay.
I'd like to have that study second.
Okay, we've got duly noted. Thank you. Okay, so now we are up to 23. This is comments by the Board of Trustees. So I will start with my colleague Chavez, and we'll go this way.
How do you follow? I've been continuing to visit our school sites, almost done, really excited. A fun fact, I ran into one of my kids, well, they're not a kid anymore, they're an adult, at one of our sites. They're like, Mrs. Chavez, you were a math teacher. It's like, well, I feel old. So it's just a full circle, seeing our kids doing some great work and staying in our community. Yeah, I wanted to share that, and I continue to look forward to seeing all the great things happening at all of our sites.
Thank you. Relay?
Yes, it's been very busy in the last few weeks from the last board meeting, but I want to mention last time I forgot to mention that I also attend the Family Engagement Conference, which is this very good event, was well organized by staff, district, and administrator at YB, and very well attended by parents and students. I also attend the Santa Teresa BSA Cultural Show. I want to congratulate all of the students that put a lot of effort to perform and keep and promote the culture, as well as the leadership of teachers Pauline Nguyen and Tan Nguyen. Also attend Pista Hansa at Independence.
Stahasa.
Well, yes. Pista Hasa.
Hasa.
All right. Okay, from Filipino group, from East Side, Filipino administrators and staff and teacher have organized it with a student. They did a wonderful job, and I'm really impressed. I hope that maybe one day that we will have is one event that combined with all of those ethnic Asian group. We celebrate the month of May as the Asian American heritage. And I think that's something that I really want to see on the East Side. We have a lot of talent students as well as the teachers and parents and also administrator. So I'm looking forward, maybe not if we can do this year, not for next year, but something that I'm really looking forward. I also attend the Choral Festival. See how busy I am. I very impressed about our student. You know, they did perform, I think from 9:30 exactly to 2:30, but I stopped by about just about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I met, thank you, the director, Kenneth Ponticelli, and I also met the what you call adjudicators, Dr. Julie Ford and Bruce Langerton, and all of the teachers, and kudos to all music teachers as well as students who participate at the Choral Festival. And I remember several years, I think after the few years that I start with the as a school board, and I did mention to our former superintendent that I'd like to see more program to support our student on the music and art program. At a time that we didn't have that much budget and we cut a lot of program, but since we have enough money, get the budgets back in the place that we be able to continue. So I really, really appreciate when I attend those, and Director Kenneth Ponticelli also mentioned at the event that, you know, I'm also push for that program. And I also visit Foothill, James Lake, Silver Creek, Evergreen, Oak Grove this morning. Tomorrow will be Andrew Hills and Mount Pleasant, no, Overfells. And the next following week, we'll take care on of the rest of the school site. So I've been very busy, but one time today, I also met one of the students who performed in the community and saw me, and I said, oh, I remember Miss Van Ley, we have to take a picture. And I think that is really nice to see the student who still participated in the community events, but still, you know, involved in the school. So I want to say thank you to all the principal, Noemi Ramirez, Gubayan Hani, Kelly Doherty, Kai Kleshner, Miss Martha Brazil. And I really want to say that also attend the speech contest at Foothill, and 3 of our students in Silver Creek won the first, second, and third prize. And I also talk about, you know, those at the side from safety, as well as all of the challenge from each side. So I can see what are the difference from one side to another, not from small school to the bigger school. And I learned a lot from them. I also met the teacher, the former ESTA president, Marissa Hansen. I went to her class as avid class at Silver Creek. So it's kind of interesting to look into the whole picture. And I also have an idea with thinking about all of the site who has some space that if we can put some an idea that if we can accommodate it, a land for the student as well as for teacher to help the student to grow some flowers or vegetable, because I think that's something that's really ease some of the student if they have been in, in a pressure, and they can see the beautiful of the seed, the grow of the flowers, or or a vegetable, really very helpful for them. So I have that kind of idea, but I just want to throw it here. And I really want to say that it's very, very warm and welcome back that I'm take the time to visit all of the school, and hopefully that I'll be able to think about all of those things that happen, in the school side. So appreciate all of one thing I really want to say that at Jam Slicks, I saw attend and I met Miss Sonia Ramos, who is the director of San Jose Council, and she helped organize, one of those partner for Higher Education Day. And I heard that would be also as a career day. I met Sergio there and I had some pictures taken. But it's really something that I see because most of the time I attend the one day as it's called at Independence. Most of the student and parent will meet at one location at Independence. But this time we have it at Jam Slicks, and it really helped, I think, the student really take the time to go by and visit all of those schools table and learn from them. So I think it's very interesting to have each side. I mean, besides we have a one big event for all students, but at least if we have one for each side, that the student can really learn or take the time to look into potential for Higher Education Day. So very interesting, and I'm really want to thank you everyone. Looking forward for the next week to visit the school. Thank you I'm taking a little bit longer because I've been so busy to visit all of the school sites.
Clearly been very busy. Thank you. Trustee Doe.
I appreciate the brevity from my colleague Lay at her statement, so I will try to match the exact same amount of time. First, I want to welcome our potentially our future presidents and vice president of our student leaderships. Thank you for being here and thank you for your commitment to serving our students. I am planning to attend the shout out to Andrew Hill event coming up this Saturday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. Again, that's Andrew Hill High School main quad, 3200 Central Road. They're going to have an event called Saigon Sur, which the organizers, the students and along activity director Hong Hua have promised to be a vibrant atmosphere of old Saigon with rich heritage of tradition of Vietnam. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing our students and our teachers and our staff to be there on this Saturday. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Trustee Herrera.
I have no comment.
Okay. I yield my time to my colleagues. So we'll move on to 2302, Emily.
Lately, the Student Governing Board has been working very hard. We've been releasing a lot of resources for students, such as academic information and testing information that our district provides, as well as the recent SAT that students just did. And also we have, as I said in the beginning, like dual enrollment information. So I would recommend anybody to please follow us on our social medias and keep up with us. And yeah, and our elections will be coming up. So I recommend any student who wants to be part of the Student Governing Board to try out at their respective school. Thank you.
And what's your handle again?
Yeah.
Okay, it's at ESUHSD.SGB.
Right. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
All right, we mentioned some of the upcoming Vietnamese events. We talked about Pista Han Sa and in the past, which is a statement of our diversity. I just want to go back to Monday night when we were at San Jose State, that when we asked all the students that were been admitted and were ready to commit to San Jose State, that the diversity of that group is truly emblematic of Eastside and will power our valley in the future, making sure that our future is represented by those who are continuing their college education that reflective of those that live here in this valley. And I can't thank the staff enough for being mindful of that and the work that they put into that. It's not accidental, whether it's their teachers saying, hey, make that DSC so that you can stay on for A through G, our counselors making sure that they're aware of it and moving to that, our support staff making sure that students are fed, that the classrooms are clean and working into, and our administrators keeping their eye on that. Thanks to everybody. It truly is something that has not happened before. That evening is truly emblematic. I also want to make sure that just a reminder for folk that there was an earlier board meeting, we did put out a SERP for those that are perhaps looking for a retirement and retirement bonus as they complete their service to Eastside and say, hey, it's been good, I've served, and I'm ready for the next phase of my life. I say that not to encourage, but just to remind folk that April 12th is the deadline for that formal submission of that. And so I don't want someone to go, oh, I was thinking about it, but I thought it was till the board meeting, the subsequent board meeting. So it is the April 12th. That's the deadline for that. Just want to make that a reminder. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to 2401, legal counsel. Is there anything to report from closed session?
Yes, there is. Closed session item 2.02. The board unanimously approved a stipulated agreement to expulsion for student number 23-24-009. Closed session item 2.05. The board unanimously approved the stipulated 3-day unpaid suspension for one certificated employee. And again, that was unanimous. There are no further actions to report.
Okay, and with that, our next meeting will be April 18th, which is just a regular board meeting. And with that, at 7:26, we will adjourn.